Welcome to the Data for All podcast. I'm Charlie Yielding, and today we don't have a Charlie Apigian. Today, instead, we've got Elise Cambernack. Cambernack? Okay. And she's the CTO of the NTC because our actual podcast today is going to be an interview with Carrie Nielsen from Oracle, who we spoke to at the Nashville Analytics Summit. But before we get into that, I thought you could talk to us a little bit about the Analytics Summit as a show and Oracle as a company potentially coming to Tennessee soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Charlie, for including me in this podcast. We were very thrilled to have Carrie speak on behalf of Oracle at Nashville Analytics Summit. Mm-hmm. It was, our 7th edition of the Analytics Summit, and Oracle was our presenting sponsor. Mm-hmm. I know Carrie did a fabulous job talking about data and AI and getting everybody excited in the room. We had little shy of 600 people attend our session. So it was a 2-day conference with 35 speakers, and Carrie was definitely the highlight of the day. And at the NTC, we've really created the Analytics Summit with a core group of an advisory board to really put Nashville and our Nashvillians on the map of innovation, data, and AI. And this year, it is all about AI innovation for sure. So we were very excited to see large attendance, great sponsors, and a lot of dynamic conversations.
Yeah, so I will say everything you just said was accurate. Like it was a very busy 2 days with so many people walking around, and it was my first show, and so I thought I was going to show up to like a convention of nerds, and there were plenty of nerds there, and I use that term lovingly, but there were a lot more just business savvy folks there as well, and a lot more students than what I expected, because it does truly seem to be like a data and analytics convention in the real sense that like everybody interested in it, not just the industry, but everybody interested in data and analytics specifically, and AI this year too. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
Was there.
Very true. And it's really, I think it's the first time, which is the second time, but this year was very telling to see that the conversation moved from data into innovation and really thinking about ways to bring the data to the table in organizations and find ways to innovate with it and with AI. And we could definitely feel the energy in the rooms during those 2 days.
Oh, yeah. When we actually got the chance to sit down and talk to Carrie, as people will find out shortly, she is doing some really, really cool stuff with data in sports. And so she focuses on F1, yachting, Premier League, and a bunch of other stuff that's really popular right now. And they focus on real-time data and analytics during races. So the pit crews during these F1 races, because as I understand it, Red Bull Oracle is top tier right now.
It is.
And a big part of that is their real-time analytics that they're able to spit out. And so in this actual podcast, she talks about that. And a lot of the people that came to the podcast booth while we were at the show were talking about her talk and how like they heard everything that they were up to, or that Oracle's up to in the sports world, and it just got them excited to work with data. Like, they quickly became the belle of the ball from a data employee perspective, because it seemed like everybody wanted to go work for Oracle, which is good. So since again they're coming to Tennessee, yeah, and there's going to be a lot of potential jobs that they're going to be bringing our way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that they broke ground on their new campus. So Oracle has made a commitment to open a campus in Nashville, where it's going to be on the east bank of the river. Believe that they're already starting to build that, and they've already started to hire folks. So we're really, really excited to welcome Oracle in a big way in our tech community in Nashville. They're going to be one of our large employers of techies in town, and we do have a lot of techies for sure in Nashville. We're a community between 62 and 65,000 technicians or technologists in Middle Tennessee, and they're going to add more jobs to that pipeline. And we were very, very thrilled to have them become our presenting sponsor at the Analytics Summit. I think it's a testament to really their involvement in the community and their willingness to continue to grow and support Nashville as a tech hub going forward.
Oh yeah. The NTC has over the past, was it 15 years?
25.
Put in so much work to increase the general tech awareness in Middle Tennessee. And it's not, like, I moved here in 2008, and this is not the same town that I moved to. It's different in almost every single way, but the thing that I'm most happy about, and especially since I like to work with the NTC as much as possible, that the actual tech community here is becoming like hybridized, because it's not just transplants anymore. Mm-hmm. It's youngins that like came up in Tennessee high schools and went to Tennessee colleges or went to Tennessee boot camps and then got those jobs here in Tennessee as well. And I very much like that.
Yeah, it's very true. And I think having large employers like Oracle, but other in different industries, making Nashville very unique, because the Tech Council is not about just, are you a tech company and are you selling technology? Is also, are you building technology for your own industry, for your own company, for your own needs? So we have a great balance of practitioners who actually are also need services from our service provider and other technology companies. So we have a good balance of truly the technology companies and then the employers in town who might have a 5,000 people tech workforce here in Nashville.
Mm-hmm. So that's the long and short of the NTC is like you're here to increase the tech awareness and capabilities of Middle Tennessee. And so before we jump into the interview with Carrie, is there anything else that you want to share or promote for the NTC or the area in general?
I think in general, I would say we're really focusing a lot on workforce development. Our focus number one is to create that orchestrated, connected ecosystem where we provide value to not just young and senior professionals with workforce development, but also awareness in the high school, in middle schools, and partnering with colleges and boot camps to really continue to grow that awareness and get our younger generation excited about tech talent or about technology jobs. Yeah. And so I think if you look at the full life cycle, NTC is really supporting the entire life cycle from K through 12 all the way to the CIOs. We're having programming that help grow that community and continue to create that connective tissue. Because we're in the South, we're in Nashville, we're in Tennessee. It's all about relationship, and we want to continue to be at the heart of this.
Well, so far so good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll just jump into it.
Let's jump in.
Hello, welcome to Nashville. I heard that this is your first trip here.
First trip, yes, very exciting.
So, who are you?
I'm Carrie.
Carrie Nielsen.
I do. My name is Carrie Nielsen. Okay. I'm the Senior Director of Product Strategy at Oracle Analytics. As you mentioned, Oracle sponsoring this event. Very excited to be here. Gave the keynote this morning talking about sports analytics today.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what type of sports analytics did you talk about?
Well, Oracle partners with three main sports partnerships. We have Oracle Red Bull Racing that races in the Formula One. We have the Premier League, which is in the European Soccer League. And we have the CLGP, which is a global, they go around global, but it's catamaran racing on the open waters.
I watch that on YouTube every now and again.
Oh, really?
Now
I'm going to have to check it out. I was like, it's pretty cool to see these big catamarans that are foiling up, over on top of the water.
Yeah.
Moving fast, 40
I do love
60 miles.
And a boat.
I didn't know Oracle had their hand in so many sports, though.
Yeah, they engaged in sports, and it's been a great technology partnership for us to be able to showcase and help move forward their innovations they're looking to do. So we've been a part of, everything in our stack for the teams to be able to leverage machine learning, fan experience, and be able to just leverage data to make decisions, which I see here you guys, are a fan of.
Yeah, we like that a little bit.
It's all data nerds here.
So before we get into some more of that stuff, tell us, everybody's got a data story that works in data. and no two stories are the same. So what is your data story? How'd you wind up working with data?
Oh, well, gosh, I've been working with data for almost 30 years now. It was one of my first jobs, and it was at a PC manufacturing company where they had these physical slips that they would write on and say there's a part failure. And it was just from that day on forward that my brain says, this should not be the way this works. We need to create a database. We need to have this be entered in by that, have statistical process control up on the monitors for the manufacturing floor to see. And that transitioned into semiconductor and then healthcare and then done sales, pre-sales. Now I'm doing product strategy for analytics products.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's been a journey.
That's a 10-year experience.
Yes. I have some scars.
And so are you going to be transplanting to Nashville, or are you going to be working from where are you from?
Boise, Idaho.
Okay.
I would have considered it maybe once all your construction is done.
Oh, that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a construction project
it
for
has
a while.
been 4 a.m. this morning, and I'm like, jackhammers.
Yeah.
Welcome to Nashville. Yeah, Boise's a little bit quieter. I'm a Four Seasons recreational kind of gal, so love that. But plan to bring my family back. We were trying to come now, but I was unable to get everyone together. So
Awesome. Yeah, come back. It's a fun place to hang out and lots of stuff to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you get to experience Broadway at all?
I went down to the warehouse. Is it where all the food court?
The Fifth and Broad,
the
Assembly Food Hall.
Assembly Food Hall. Grabbed some lunch there yesterday. Planning now, the night before the keynote, I kind of lay low, make sure that I'm prepared and slept
fair.
well. Yeah. So tonight I'll be being able to go out and hopefully hear some music. I hear there's some great music here. The vibe is amazing.
Yeah.
I wish we had it.
Broadway is definitely a spectacle. It's just shoulder to shoulder almost all the time. But everywhere you go in Nashville, and this is not a joke, music is great.
Yes.
Like, I just live in a random neighborhood in Nashville. My neighbor is an award-winning producer, or a Grammy award-winning producer. And it's all over town.
It's just who's here.
Yeah, the folks, like, if you play an instrument in Nashville, you better be good. And that's all there is to it. And so having come to Nashville now and talked here at the Analytics Summit, like, what's, like, you were here yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what did you find that was surprising about coming to the Analytics Summit and being around so many people that are into data at one time?
Yeah. Well, I get to go to a lot of conferences, so I see a lot of similarities. I think something that was different here is the talk of Gen AI. Of course, that's something that's so new. And when I was preparing for the keynote, I was looking at last year's talk track versus the sessions versus this year's sessions, and the abstracts. And I was like, wow, nearly a 50% increase in that topic. And seeing this young generation that you guys have here of these, the next generation of analytics professionals that are, excited to come and be a part of that analytics journey. But those would probably be the two things that stood out to me. And
I like this is my first analytics summit, and then Shauna can give her contrast. But I'm really impressed by the students here. So you kind of mentioned the next generation. So the students will volunteer, get a ticket, and then go to breakouts and whatnot. And we talked to several of them yesterday, and I can't believe how many of them have their heads screwed on straight at this point.
Right.
Because when I was in college, I definitely didn't.
Yeah, I was a late bloomer in the maturity level.
Same.
Lane. And so, yeah, I don't know that I would have been smart enough to think to come volunteer and come to a conference so that I could come to a conference. I don't think I would have thought through that. So I was, barely, $5 in my pocket. Definitely wouldn't have looked at spending money on a conference ticket, but I think it's awesome. And over the years, I have seen it evolve, from, and we've kind of morphed our analytics is kind of merging in with, AI and machine learning and all that. And so we are kind of evolving with that. So I love to see that. I feel like that Nashville's very welcoming. And so that's one of the things I loved about Nashville. And so I think that's why we have so many young people here, young tech professionals that are like, wow, it's very welcoming. Everybody's really nice. I only intended to stay for 2 years and, well, I've been here 20 something. So
it'll get a hold of you for sure. So what does a senior director of product strategy do at Oracle?
Well, there's a number of them. And so we all do different things. It's being able to understand what the market's doing, provide art of the possible, develop content that our sales teams can use to be able to go sell and understand what the market's doing. I particularly work with our sports partners. And so I work to ensure that we're, helping them implement and understand all the product stack that Oracle has that can, help them keep their competitive edge. But lots of presentations, which going out and speaking and talking. And then, we have events where we provide, build up kits for like the simulators. I built a simulator, the first simulator in North America in my house for an event. So I bought all the components, built it.
You're going to have to back up on that one.
I need to know about this simulator. I was like, okay.
What do you mean you built the first simulator?
Well, so to give credit, we have an Australian team that started this, like creating a simulator and streaming the data in order to do analytics. It's a fun way to let people engage with data and learn and go through that process of capturing data, evaluating the data, making changes to be better. So in North America, we had an event. And so ordered all the components, manufactured it all together, got the software installed, and shipped it off to the event. So I was running lots of laps in my living room. I've got some pretty interesting pictures that, my husband was like, when is this going to be shipped? Stepping over the...
I feel that.
And unfortunately, I have a very white, hairy dog, which I'm hoping that hair is finally departed the simulator by now.
Pyrenees or whatever.
Lab. Just sheds a lot.
All the hair.
Yeah, all the hair.
All the hair.
So the simulator, that's kind of what I'm getting caught up on. Is that just it's like a data sandbox? Almost.
It's the experience. So if you look at, I shouldn't just say kids today. Everyone plays video games.
Yeah.
Do you play video games?
Absolutely.
Okay.
All the time.
Okay. So if you imagine like having an Xbox controller, right? And you're steering and you've got these buttons and, you're navigating the experience through a small console.
Yeah.
If you could translate that to sitting in a seat, having a steering wheel, having a gas and brake pedal, and, seeing that visualization, that experience is different. But ultimately, all the data is streamed directly to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure from them and organized and presented back real time, plus near real time, where we do leaderboards to get people competitive and understand and try to beat times. Cool. They compete against Max. Max Verstappen, of course, is the lead driver for Oracle Red Bull Racing. So he runs laps and gives us times. And then we go to events. And it really replicates what the esports team is doing to do driver development at Oracle Red Bull Racing.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
That sounds super fun.
You should buy one.
A simulator?
Yeah, you can just make one. I made one.
But it sounded complicated. I mean, I can build a PC.
I know what Charlie's doing this weekend.
Reach out if you want any tips. I'll hook you up.
Okay. We can talk. We can talk after acquiring a simulator because I do like I do like games, and so they're just like it's just there for people to play with and engage with data in a unique way. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. So it gives them the ability, once they get done driving, they actually can see their telemetry, so like brake, speed, gear, steering, trended and represented over Max Verstappen's data. And it's a great way to learn, right? It's like business. You're going in, you're collecting data, you're reviewing it, and then you're making modifications. You're saying, I need to brake sooner here. I need to stay on the gas here. And so those data points help the drivers learn more about what they need to improve. And then they'll jump back in the simulator and try to beat their time or Max again.
That sounds like a great thing to have kids engage in. Like I can totally see my 10-year-old being all about that, both the building of the product and then the final product. And so that's really awesome. Yeah.
So when I build, like I work on, I do support. I don't do software stuff, so I do support. And so all of our we do mobile help desk. And so everything is processed out, kind of like the track. It's like, at this point you should be here, at that point you should be there, and stuff like that. And so we build the processes, and then when we're doing QC, we do a similar thing. We'll take the data and we'll lay it on top of the process and say like, well, where did you go wrong, or where did you go right, and all of that kind of stuff. And so we pull the same kind of insights. And so that's, I think we're gonna have to get a simulator. That's basically.
I think that could be a show. Like we could build a simulator. Maybe we time lapse it because I'm guessing it takes a few hours.
We'll just reach out to Oracle I think we have 26 of them globally now. So you can have them shipped to your show. And
Yeah.
So if you decide you don't want to build one, just let us know. We'll get you one.
Oh, well, I mean, since you guys are coming to town, I imagine you want to participate in the Nashville community as much as possible. And I am a part of the Nashville community. So maybe we could work it out. But I do think that's, so with the NTC, who's putting on the Analytics Summit, they put a lot of time and effort into raising up the youngins, like building them up, like,
Love it.
you know, one of the stats that we talk about on a regular basis is aptitude versus interest, and so it's what is it? 70% or higher of females have an aptitude for technology, but less than 20% have an interest in technology. And so I've gone and I've talked to these classes of like we'll call them middle school or early high school and stuff like that, and unless you're on top of like a subject that they care about, they're not
paying attention.
Not clicking.
Yeah.
But and so I talk about video games a lot because that seems to work out. But then if I had a demo, like an active demo anyways, you got my brain turning now. And
oh, well, you know, I mean, video games are the thing. And if they can relate something that they do and enhance the experience by sitting in a simulator to do that, because there's probably not, I queried the group. I don't think I got one hand of who has a sim in their house, but it's a great way to talk about technology and get people interested, and it relates to business so, you know, closely that it's impactful.
Yeah, I do too. Charlie and I both have a soft spot for, you know, giving back to the community and getting that spark started as early as possible in kids. And
I love it.
Particularly girls. You know, I always wonder, like, what would happen in my life if somebody had struck that spark much earlier? You know, I didn't even get introduced to technology until college. So, and then I was like, oh, this is pretty cool.
Yeah. Love it.
So what's exciting to you these days with technology, data, like anything in that purview? Is something just absolutely the best thing?
Well, you know, there's probably not a specific thing. I think really seeing people move into advanced analytics and leveraging machine learning and having a clear purpose of what their problem is, and using the data to make decisions. There's a lot of people collecting data, and there's people that are, doing analysis. Like all of those things are happening. Red Bull's an amazing story where, you know, they have leaned so far into, using data to make decisions, and it is so fast, right? They're moving at the fast, pace of a race car driving.
Yeah.
And so, that's the thing that excites me is when I see the execution of being able to not only build it, create and understand what your problems are and what you're trying to solve for, and using advanced analytics in order to make better decisions.
Yeah, I do like that a lot. Like my background is not technology focused, but I've used technology and data to improve myself personally quite a lot.
Yeah, and it's all around us. We kind of have to adapt to it, right?
Oh, yeah. Right. With Gen AI being the way it is, like everybody's got to adapt in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
it sparked a whole new line of thought in a very specific way. And what I mean by that is, like, we don't know what things are going to look like in 5 years because everything is open now. Like, so all the doors that were closed because of technology limitations or personal limitations or things like that, like it seems like if you're willing to get at it, you can achieve what you want.
Right.
In ways that just weren't possible.
Well, the barrier to entry just got a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
And so for everything, when I can build a app prototype, for a few $100s, that's most people can afford that as opposed to $50,000,
And our kids have really been raised and trained. They've, when you look at really what they've been exposed to with video games and tech and iPads and, all of these different technologies that surround them, like they've really been prepared for this next wave of being able to pick up that torch. And, when I look at, I've been almost 30 years and I look back at the way we did things, and it was very structured and, and so sometimes I wonder, I try to bring in young people because they innovate and they're not bound by these limitations and they think differently. So they're prepared. I'm excited to see what that next generation is.
They're also not scared to fail. I feel like, sometimes people are scared to make a mistake, and kids will just I'll try it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll turn this to the ground
to find out if it
Wait, that's not literal, right?
They're used to the video games. You get a new life, it's fine. Let's use another life.
I wrecked the car. You did? Oh, no, they're on my video game. Okay.
So we talked to a roundtable of chief data officers earlier this morning, and you mentioned a couple of things that kind of are in line or line up with what they're saying. So first, like they pretty unanimously said that their job is mostly facilitation and enablement.
Yeah,
So they have to get out there and but you mentioned earlier, like you'll go to different business groups and like help them and facilitate them in that same kind of way. So it seems like maybe everybody in the data vertical is like, you've got to be a facilitator. Are there any, I can't think of any examples where somebody could just not be in data leadership at all and not be or be in data leadership at all and not be a facilitator. But,
yeah, I think that's always a part of the role. I don't know if it's, holistically, the only thing. I do a lot of tactical things. I'm not a CDO, but, you can easily get brought down. If you're a historical tech person and implementer, sometimes you can kind of get brought down inside of the tech quite easily. And so it's important to keep that in mind, that you're trying to provide guidance and empower and provide, something for these teams to be able to go execute. And, you kind of step out of that role of being an executor.
Yeah. So the other thing they said, it was kind of surprising to me, and that's like, they have enough data. Like there's no more, like, because I thought that part of their job would be to go generate new data.
No, do with it. You need to do something with it.
Yeah. And then they introduced me to the concept of high value data and all of that kind of stuff. And so I had not thought about that before, because I'm still in the mindset of just like, if it exists, let's take it in. And if it doesn't exist, let's try to make it exist and all that kind of stuff. But I also don't sit on big data either.
Yeah.
Well,
and prioritizing data too, right? There's so much data, but it really comes back to, I think, looking at what your problems you're trying to solve and having a clear path of understanding what metrics you need to use, how frequently those need to be evaluated, and what kind of advanced analytics you can do on that data. So it's an evaluation process for sure of looking at what you need.
Yeah, we are all data rich at this point. It's the information poor part that we need to work on.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at numbers lately, but some of the numbers that they were showing is how fast our overall data volumes grow.
Oh yeah,
is tremendous.
It's an exponential relationship, and like one of the things. So I work in mobility, and one of the things that we've always been, we've been waiting on for like the past 4 or 5 years is 5G. So 5G technology, like the millimeter stuff, like the really fast, high spectrum connections. And when that becomes ubiquitous, or if they solve for the penetration problem because signal doesn't go very far, then every car is going to have, 20 different IoT devices reporting metrics constantly. And so like we're still going up exponentially, but there's still a barrier ahead of us that's going to make it almost go straight up from the amount of data that we're collecting. Because, like right now on all automated car stuff is like onboard computers connected to cameras. But then when we get IoT devices, they'll be able to communicate up and then back down in less than 10 milliseconds, and that's a real, it's a real game changer. And so, do you ever put thought into how we're going to manage like the amazing amounts of data that we're going to have to deal with in the future?
Yeah, I don't probably look so much at like how to manage it, but like from a volume perspective, but understanding the prioritization again of the data is really probably where I would spend more time of what problems are we solving. They load so much data. Then you start taking, a higher refresh rate where you're getting more data elements per second. All of those things increase the volume by some factor. But I think it's important also, more data isn't always better. If you're bringing in at 200 hertz and you have all these data points that are taking, 200 data points per second, it's like, well, what problem are you solving? Do you need to do that? And so I think there'll be some kind of an evolution that will require people to kind of start on the end first and say, what problems are we doing and what data do we need to collect that? Because, there's going to be a lot of infrastructure that would need to be captured for data that you may never look at.
So do you have an example of like that kind of prioritization in an actual like sports event?
Yeah, I actually just talked about Red Bull Racing with their data capture. Yeah, so they're leveraging real-time data, as it's being captured. We'll just talk about the esports team. They capture when they have all their drivers running about 900,000 data points per second. And there is an enormous amount of data around motion and yaw pitch roll and, the specific positioning, each tire. And then there's like 5 or 10 factors for each tire, temperature. And so there's just an endless amount of data that's available to be collected.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately right now, the driving performance and training that is occurring is being focused around telemetry data, speed, brake, throttle. And so, being able to identify and capture those specific data elements. And the great thing with Oracle is they have object storage. So at a really low cost, you can also take that data and just say, okay, let's go put it in some object storage buckets and like have it there in case if we need to ever look back. But the prioritization of grabbing the things that are needed for that specific training, having that go into the database, and because even more so than just having the data available, like you need to be performant. And so being able to maximize the query return times and setting your infrastructure up, those things should be considered. But that's an example of not pulling in every single data point and really focusing on what this use case is.
That sounds like some high performance data.
Yeah, that does.
In more than one way, too.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I would say, we ask everybody this, but on the horizon, so this, I guess generative AI and AI in general has been like the hot topic this year since ChatGPT came out. So what is next? What's your prediction? We're not going to hold you to it. So what's your personal prediction?
My
What's
personal
next?
prediction. Okay.
I will 100% hold it.
Okay.
If it's
He's
wrong.
like, I have your...
We'll call you and be like,
yeah.
you're wrong.
Yeah.
I just think it's going to make our lives easier. I know there's a lot of people concerned with jobs and all these things, but ultimately the example I gave during my keynote was, 10 years ago, there were people who were still using paper maps to be able to travel from one destination to another.
Mm-hmm.
And with the automation, now we know the exact time that you're going to arrive, traffic, weather impacts that are there, and you can plan and most efficiently get where you're going. And you can even look at multiple routes if they're changing real time to see where you're going, right?
And share it with your friends.
So here's my location and this is what I'm going to be, or this is where I'm at. So, so I think that will be the same evolution of what's there. The large language models, we have such brilliant people that will have to jump in and there'll be a whole new task of them monitoring and understanding, how to communicate and be clear about what these results that are coming back are. But it's great. I mean, I think I'm excited to see what we'll be in 10 years, but I think it'll be an evolution similar as that. I think we'll, like we ask questions in our phone right now. Google's my best friend. Unfortunately, you ask a question and it tells you, and you've transitioned from really saying, "Is that right?" You have some gray area that you're just okay tolerating, and I think that tolerance will be something that over time people get results in, and it'll normalize. They'll find an equilibrium with what that tolerance is, and people will be able to identify what's good and bad.
So things aren't going to be wild and crazy for the foreseeable future?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm not a data scientist, so, I know some, and I know that there's a lot of concern that they have. And I think it's because it got thrown out there so fast, they haven't had the chance to get ahead of it in order to put the message and fully be able to explain it. They'll get there.
Well, cool. So I'm glad that Oracle's here now. The building is actually going up right where the stadium is, and so you guys are going to build the first high rise on the east side of the river.
Okay.
So it's a big change for the town, not just because of the high rise, but because Oracle's such a powerhouse of a company and technology driven and all that kind of stuff. Like, I feel like Nashville is quickly becoming the technology hub of the U.S. because there's been big migrations over the past few years, and we've received a lot of expertise, and so I feel like Oracle is going to pick up a lot of good local talent just from coming to town.
That's awesome.
Also, so you guys are the main sponsor here as well.
We are the main sponsor for this event.
And thank you so
Oracle,
much.
Thank you.
sponsoring.
Thank you.
And thank you for talking to me.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to meet you. Thanks for chatting it up.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to make sure that we do get that they are the presenting sponsors. We
Yes.
Get some B-roll for Analytics Summit and then for us as well.
Never interrupt me again. And okay.